Hello and welcome. My name is Dwayne Huff. I'm so glad you joined me for this free training. This is going to go super quick. We're going to be, and it's going to be very informal. It's after hours. I'm kind of dressed down, I don't know what noise is going to go on in the background because my family's hanging out in the background. But I just had to get this out to you because I've been having conversations. I'm a full-time sales trainer and performance coach. Been working with sales teams, sales individuals, small groups, and we've been talking about how to close more sales consistently, predictably, and effortlessly without having to do too much heavy lifting, pushing and pulling. I had a friend of mine tell me the other day, goes, Dwayne, I've been in sales for 30 years and I am exhausted. And I asked him, I said, why are you exhausted from being in sales that long? He goes, because it's so contentious. It's so confrontational. I said, my man, if that's the way you feel about sales, you're doing it wrong. Right. And I think he came to the realization that I was right. So I want to share with you 6 things you can do or help your team do to sell more of your products and services, to close more of your products and services consistently, predictably, profitably, and effortlessly. But before I jump in here, in case you're about to bounce, just know that I'm going to unpack this further and go through my entire Selling with Influence framework in a 2-hour virtual session. And I'll have all the details somewhere on here. Just click through. It's only $47. There's a 100% money back guarantee, nothing to risk, but it's going to help you to take your game of sales right now and just bring it through the roof instantly. And you'll see what I'm about to talk about here, but join me for that. 47 bucks, 2 hours. I'll do some teaching, training, coaching, answer your questions, but unpack this further that I have an opportunity to do right now and walk you through my Selling with Influence framework, which every letter in influence stands for a step that you can take to close more sales. But without further ado, let me jump in. The first thing, as you can see right here, that we need to stop doing if we want to close more sales consistently, predictably, and profitably is we need to stop presenting, pitching, and demoing, at least up front in the way that we're used to it. We create sales resistance. We shoot ourselves in the foot. We get doors slammed on us. We get people ghosting us, not returning our calls, disappearing, or objecting and pushing against what we have to offer because we pitch, we present, and we demo too soon. It's like throwing mud against the wall and guessing, and your prospects do not like it. So in the next 5 steps, what I'm going to walk you through is what we should start doing consistently before we pitch, before we present, or before we even think about demoing. Because if we will do these next 5 first, it will inform our pitch, our presentation, or our demo in a way that maps the desires, the outcomes, the goals, and the things that your prospects are trying to avoid. Will map it to your solution much more effectively. So let's jump in here. The next thing, number 2, that we need to do very first up front is we need to understand what their current situation is. And this is about asking them to walk us through a process. Tell us what's going on, what's good, what's bad, what's working, how long they've been doing it, and what they're currently doing to try to achieve their outcome, their goal, or to move away from the pain that they're experiencing. And in doing that and unpacking that, all of these steps that I'm going to share with you, what you're ideally doing is facilitating or walking them through a process of self-discovery. Face it, your prospects don't spend all day thinking about their problem and how to solve it. They're just moving on to the next thing, trying to survive, trying to float. They push it under the rug, they minimize it, they say, I'll get it to it later. And they don't fully acknowledge it and realize it. So we have to get them to pause. And we have to understand and get them to understand where they currently are, whether they're happy with it or whether they're not fully happy with it, or if they think it's working out ideally, or if there's some things that are broken in it. And if we can facilitate that conversation by simply saying, hey, share with me, what are you guys currently doing? And coming from a place at the very beginning, I love to do this. I love to set the tone this way, say, listen, as we get together and we have this conversation, I'm going to come from a place that you probably don't need my help. Everything's probably working in order, and what I have may or may not serve you, but you might know some people that this can serve. So let me just kind of understand what's going on. Hold on, Dwayne, wait a minute. I'm here to sell stuff. Why would I shoot myself in the foot like that? Actually, what happens is you drop their walls and lower their defenses because you come from a place of not, I'm going to make a sale here and I'm going to convince you that my product and service and solution is what you need, which all of your competition is doing. But you come in place from understanding and being removed from your agenda, which is to sell something. Or another way I've heard it said is to be detached from the outcome. And if you can simply be curious, concerned, sometimes skeptical when appropriate, empathetic, but just wanting to understand and fully get what they are currently doing, what their current situation is, it lowers their walls and gets them talking about what's going on. And then once you have a good understanding of that, and all of this, people buy from us or ultimately buy in when they feel understood, not when they understand us. That's why I said stop pitching, presenting, and demoing too soon. If I now understand their current situation, now I want them to get to talk about or get them to talk about their ideal situation. What could be, what should be in a perfect world, what would you have it look like? So their ideal situation is the next thing we want to explore. Again, we're walking through them a process. We're asking questions. We're discovering, if you will, but we're getting them talking to us. And in the process of talking to us, they're talking to themselves and the light bulbs start to go off. Yes, there is a better way. Yes, I do have a problem. Yes, there is a possibility for change. And I'm not having to tell them that. They're telling themselves that. You see, most time, the most important sell that needs to be made is not being made. We think we have to pitch, we have to demo, we have to present to sell and to convince them that they need to buy our solution. But what we really need to do is facilitate that conversation where they go, I have a problem. There's a better way. I need to change. Can you help me? Totally different conversation. So I start by helping them to talk through and understand their current situation. And then I want to understand, what would you have it to be if you could design it? Because when I do that, it creates a gap in their mind. And all of a sudden they start to see what one of my mentors called one time inspirational discontent, seeing what they could have and realizing they're not there. So we begin to create that gap. And our job here is to facilitate a conversation, like I said, of self-discovery and self-awareness of the real situation, because it drives the most compelling thing you can have on your side, and it's their self-motivation. And self-motivation is person-specific. Sometimes you would think that people would make decisions on the behalf of the company or the outcome or the revenue goals or the metrics, but sometimes they're making those decisions for their own selfish desires. I'm not judging it. You're not judging it. You're just leveraging it. And if I get them to fully understand and face and see and develop what their situation is versus what it could and should be, they fill that gap, right? And so once I understand that, their ideal situation, I need to understand, well, what's blocking you? What's blocking you from getting that outcome you want? What's keeping you from getting away from that pain? What's keeping you from achieving that outcome? And they may or may not know. They may be confused, and you might have to help them solve for that. But more times than not, they're going to self-discover that this minor thing or this major thing is standing in their way, and they still don't have a path forward. We're going to get to that point in a second. But if I can help them to understand or help them to talk through and see that thing that might potentially be standing in their way from them getting what it is they say that they want, all of a sudden that gap widens, the pain deepens, and it becomes not just logical, but it becomes personal, right? Emotional, and people buy on emotion. Neuroscience has proven that time and time again. They justify with logic. We all know that, right? But if I can understand what's blocking them, and if they can understand what's blocking them, then I need to understand this. Okay, great. So you're here. Ideally, you'd like to be here. This is what's standing in the way, but change is difficult. And let's be honest, when I showed up, you guys were still in business. I mean, what would be the payoff, ideally, if you were able to bridge that gap, if you were able to solve that problem, if you were able to achieve that outcome, if you were able to get away from that pain? What would be the payoff, and is it even worth it? Because I want them to double down and justify to me, therefore they're justifying to themselves that there is a better way, that they do deserve that outcome, and they have to get away from that pain. And here's where I ultimately want to bring it, because if they'll lean into this next thing, and then you demonstrate your understanding of where they are, where they're trying to get, what's standing in the way, and what the payoff's going to be, you have to ask them, okay, so why does this need to happen now? It's so counterintuitive. It was for me at first, to say, well, why? I don't want to ask that question, because I might shoot myself in the foot. I might dig a hole. I might get them to say, well, you know what? It's not that important. And here's the thing. If they do, they're not your prospect. And you've disqualified it versus wasting your time. But if you've brought them through the rest of these steps effectively, there's a momentum there. And when you say, but let's be honest, why now? Why not just push this down the road? Why not just kick the can? I mean, so many of your competitors are doing it. Why not just, and what I've just did is pitted them against their competitors. They don't want to be like their competitors. They want to be better than competitors. But I'm saying, well, why does this have to change right now, though? You guys have been doing this. You're surviving. Why is this a thing that you absolutely must do? And if they've seen a big enough gap, a big enough space, inspiration, discontent between where they are and where they want to be, that momentum will get them to lean in and justify that. And when that happens, you've activated that self-discovery, you've activated that self-motivation, and now you can find out the compelling things that matter to them along the way, so that whenever you pitch, whenever you present, and whenever you demonstrate how your product, service, or solution can help them solve their problem, it makes total sense. It's obvious, but more importantly, they feel it internally. And I always like to say, if you have to close, you don't know how to sell. And what I mean by that is that if you do this properly, that momentum and that desire to bridge that gap is so strong. All I have to do is say, so what is it that I've shared with you and we've talked about throughout here that helps you to, or maybe cause you to think that this possibly might be a solution for you? And when they lean in and start justifying and regurgitating and sharing with you, and you demonstrate that understanding, all you have to do is simply say, sounds like this might possibly be the right fit. Am I hearing that correctly? And if they say, absolutely, you say, well, here's what I recommend we do now. Or, what do you feel like we should do now? If you've done all of this right, boom, donezo. Makes your life easier, makes their life easier, makes them compelled to want to take action. And it's a win-win outcome. They get the solution they need. You and your company get the revenue that you need. And they had such a great experience with you that they want to tell other people. So I hope that served. I'm so glad you're here. Again, $47. I'm going to be doing a 2-hour live session. The details will be here somewhere. 100% money back guarantee. And I'm going to throw in a bonus for anyone who attends, and whether you ask for a refund because it wasn't valuable or not, which I don't think you would do. But the thing is, $47, make that investment now, secure your spot, 30-day money back guarantee. But here's the thing. I'm going to give you 1 hour session with me. I'm a sales trainer, performance coach. I've been doing this for 15 years. I've heard it. I've seen it across every industry. I'm going to sit down with you, and I'm going to help you and or your sales team solve your number one biggest sales challenge that's stopping you from closing sales more consistently in less than an hour. Free of charge as a bonus for joining me for this live 2-hour event. So if I were you, I'd take advantage of that and join me. And I look forward to seeing you there. Reach out, send me a message. Let me know what other topics you're struggling and facing. I'm glad to create some more content. But if this served you, go out and apply it. Share this with your team. Talk about it. But ultimately, join me for that 2-hour virtual session, $47, money back guarantee. And I look forward to seeing you there. Have a great day. Bye-bye.